From fights filmed by the press to desperate grasps at a normal life, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette's relationship was the stuff of tragedy. Carolyn Bessette and John F. Kennedy Jr. first met in 1992, and there are a few different stories about the couple's meet cute, according to Vanity Fair. Some believe they locked eyes while jogging in Central Park. However, chances are they were actually introduced by artist Kelly Klein, the ex-wife of Calvin Klein. Either way, friends say it was practically love at first sight. One friend told People, John loved Carolyn. He was enchanted with her, body and soul, from the first minute he met her. At the time, Bessette had a job in Calvin Klein's PR department and was quickly becoming known for her timeless, chic style. According to Harper's Bazaar, Ralph Lauren allegedly once even told his team to design clothes with Bessette in mind.
And Calvin Klein was an icon in fashion. He was the first designer to bring in really modern, sleek, elegant looks in America.
As for JFK Jr., he was allegedly still dating actress Daryl Hannah when he first met Bessette. By 1994, it seemed that Kennedy and Bessette's relationship had turned romantic. In the early days of their relationship, however, it wasn't always smooth sailing. According to Brian Steele, who was interviewed for the documentary The Last Days of JFK Jr., Bessette was a little flaky at first, much to Kennedy's chagrin. In fact, a close friend told People that Bessette initially declined a date with JFK Jr., saying, "She didn't think he was serious. He couldn't believe she turned him down. It had never happened before." In her book on JFK and Bessette's relationship, Fairy Tale Interrupted, JFK Jr.'s personal assistant, Rosemarie Terenzio, stated Bessette was the perfect match for JFK Jr., writing, "She was exactly the kind of girl I imagined would date someone like John Kennedy Jr., and she intimidated the hell out of me." It wasn't long before Kennedy popped the question to his new paramour. He allegedly asked her to marry him in July 1995 while on a boat in Martha's Vineyard. Discussing the proposal, Terenzio told People he went into this thing about how everything's better with a partner, not just fishing but life. He said, "I want you to be my partner." While Bessette eventually said yes, it took a few weeks for her to come around as she wasn't convinced that marrying into American royalty was such a good idea. As Terenzio wrote in Fairy Tale Interrupted, she was concerned that marrying Kennedy would drastically change her life and infringe on her privacy. Once the press found out about the engagement, they began to follow the couple around New York City, hoping to snap candid photos of them.
Whenever John did something in New York, every paper had to have that story.
In 1996, the pair was famously filmed by paparazzi having a massive argument in Central Park. The incident became widely publicized. Apparently, the fight began when Carolyn discouraged Kennedy from allowing acquaintances to use his fame for their own publicity. In his book about JFK Jr., the couple's friend Stephen M. Gillen explained, the cause of this infamous fight and the many that followed stemmed from Carolyn's ongoing complaint that John let people walk all over him. Even though the fight looked pretty serious, Gillen and other friends of the couple have repeatedly stated that their arguments were a necessary and helpful piece of their passionate love affair. The consensus seems to be that Kennedy needed someone like Bessette to stand up to him. Despite their tumultuous relationship, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette tied the knot in a private ceremony on Cumberland Island in Georgia in 1996. Apparently, the small wedding was kept so under wraps that the papers and even some family members didn't know until the next day. As the couple's friend, Carol Radziwill, wrote for the Daily Mail, there were wild horses and wild flowers. It was untouched and bucolic. That night there was a wedding, one of the best-kept secrets of modern time. Apparently, the wedding was so exclusive that guests and crew were distributed rare coins and instructed to give a password to prove they were supposed to be at the event. In a documentary entitled JFK Jr. and Carolyn's Wedding, The Lost Tapes, friends of the couple commented on the intimate, romantic nature of the wedding.
They wanted something that really felt real to them.
Bessette wore a dress by designer Narciso Rodriguez along with her famous red lipstick. Even though Rodriguez made the dress for his friend, when a picture of the wedding made it to the front pages, he almost instantly achieved fame in his own right. After their private, intimate wedding, The two immediately prepared for their new life as a married couple. The first step they took after their honeymoon was to make an appeal to the press to ask for privacy. First, JFK Jr. appeared on the front steps of the couple's apartment in Tribeca, where he said, "I just ask for any privacy or room you could give her as she makes that adjustment. It would be greatly appreciated." Unfortunately, the media only became more interested in the couple after their marriage. They began following them everywhere they went. What made things worse was the fact that the couple didn't have their own security detail. As Rosemarie Terenzio told People, this had been JFK Jr.'s idea. While John was accustomed to being hounded by the press, Carolyn was made even more uneasy by their lack of protection. According to The Guardian, the more she clung to her privacy, the more the media seemed to turn on her. As Stephen M. Gillen told Town & Country, the media scrutiny changed Bessette. He stated, "She went from being this vivacious and energetic person, and now she feels captive." Life for the newlyweds wasn't all easy. In addition to the press scrutiny, they were also dealing with personal tragedies. For one thing, John F. Kennedy Jr.'s close friend and cousin, Anthony Radziwill, had been diagnosed with sarcoma, a type of bone cancer. Anthony and his wife Carol had become extremely close with Kennedy and Bessette, with Anthony having grown up with JFK Jr. By 1999, it became clear that his illness was terminal. The prognosis had a profound emotional impact on Kennedy. As Carol Radziwill later recalled in an article for the Daily Mail, Bessette helped everyone stay positive during Anthony's illness, even calling her the glue that kept everyone together. Problems started between John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette after around 3 years of marriage. According to a number of reports, one of their biggest disagreements centered around children. Vanity Fair reports that John confided in a friend that he wanted kids, but that Carolyn was not interested. For Bessette's part, she seemed to be hesitant to bring children into their lifestyle, saying, "I hate living in a fishbowl. John may be comfortable living like this, but I'm not. How could I bring a child into this kind of world?" In 1999, as the arguments escalated, the pair decided to see a marriage counselor. According to the Kennedy Heirs author, J. Randy Taraborelli, John didn't want to be one of those Kennedy men who didn't care how his wife feels. Despite the media attention and the fiery nature of their relationship, it did have its high points. Though these weren't as interesting to the tabloids, they spent most of their time living a quiet, normal life in New York City. The pair shared an apartment in Tribeca and were frequently spotted out and about walking their dog. They were also often seen at local museums, galleries, and restaurants like the Whitney Museum, Rayo's Restaurant, Area Nightclub, and the Bubby's Restaurant in Tribeca. According to Town & Country, JFK Jr. wanted to be seen as a normal New Yorker. Of course, because of the paparazzi, the couple also stayed inside a lot. As Carol Radziwill recalled, "We would order foods from Bubby's on the corner. Who wanted to leave and have to go walk through that? That was like every day of Carolyn's life for the first year or more." As J. Randy Taraborelli notes in their book, as a means of coping with the stress of the public eye, both members of the couple allegedly indulged in drug use. While neither were particularly renowned for struggles with addiction, Kennedy and Bessette readily partook in illegal substance abuse, cocaine in particular. The marriage between Carolyn Bessette and John F. Kennedy Jr. became more and more fraught in the late 90s. According to the Kennedy Heirs, Bessette ended up kissing an old friend in 1998 after her marriage became more complicated. After the kiss, she allegedly pulled back and immediately stopped the encounter from continuing. The book goes on to allege that when JFK Jr. found out about the kiss from his wife, he showed up at the friend's house, punched him, and threatened him to keep away from Carolyn. Unlike some of his ancestors, JFK Jr. reportedly never cheated on Bessette, even after her kiss. In his biography on Kennedy Jr., author Stephen Gillen claimed, "It appears unlikely that John was having an affair. He confessed to his friends, 'I wish I could cheat on her.'" Clearly, JFK Jr. was apparently wary of following in his father's footsteps.
Jody, NBC News has learned that a small plane being piloted by John F. Kennedy Jr. has been reported missing.
Tragedy struck in 1999 when John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette were killed in a plane crash on July 16th. JFK Jr., who had been taking flying lessons, had decided to fly his plane from New Jersey to Martha's Vineyard, with Bessette and her sister Lauren. Although he usually flew with an instructor, he decided to fly alone on this occasion. The plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean in an accident that was later attributed to poor conditions and pilot error, as his old friend, Sasha Shermayev, told Town & Country. He wasn't fully instrument trained. He shouldn't have done it. It was a pilot negligent mistake in which he died and 2 people died with him. At the time, Bessette's mother released a statement that read, "The loss of these 3 young people whom we loved so much has forever changed our lives. We continue to struggle with our grief, and we choose to maintain what's left of our privacy."